Hi everyone, my name is Gabby.
I'm Megan.
And you're watching an episode of TV Talk dealing with fandoms. So this episode we're going to be talking about fandoms that Megan and I both are a part of, either together or separately, and kind of our experiences with the show and with the community itself. Because fandoms are really, really awesome.
Yeah.
So we're going to start off with Sherlock, which is something that we are both a part of. Sherlock has just wrapped its 4th season.
Yeah.
Or finished airing it, rather. And it was a time.
The thing about the Sherlock fandoms, I forget how many seasons there are because it's just kind of an event, you know? Like.
Yes, it's like you get 3 movies every 3 years, and then it disappears for 3 years. And then when you come back, you're like, oh yeah, this is a show that I actually really, really love. And like the fandom itself is like, there's so much like meta and commentary analysis of each episode.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane, like the quality and quantity of work that they put out.
I think that's what makes the Sherlock fandom one of my favorites. Is
Definitely.
the amount of meta. Like I love when Sherlock is happening, not just because Sherlock is happening and it's a rare event, but also because you get to go online and just read these in-depth analyses of like what has happened and what people are saying, what this means. I just love how much everybody like analyzes like little nuances of Benedict Cumberbatch's performance, which can I just say, I don't think I've ever seen a better performance by Benedict Cumberbatch. I feel like he always plays this kind of like somewhat on the Asperger's spectrum, like genius who says rude things but is like actually the heart of gold, and Sherlock is still the best interpretation of that. I do feel like the Sherlock fandom is really good and I love how evolved it is, but I do feel like how do you feel about the creators' relationship? Because I'm always a little like uncomfortable with how
So I think it honestly depends what part of the fandom you're part of.
Yeah.
Like the part of fandom I am, it's kind of like, oh yeah, the creators, they're like our dads, like kind of, and how like we're all in this together, and that relationship got fractured after season 4. Yeah. Due to the direction which the series took, which was different than the direction a lot of people thought it would go in.
Like, what do you mean? Can we spoilers?
I think so. It's been aired.
Yeah.
Just like with Mary, her getting a redemption arc. And John and Sherlock not necessarily being partners, not working together, and it was not Sherlock necessarily.
Yeah, season 4 really had me because I think I liked season 3 a ton, and I really liked Amanda Addington as Mary. But I think for me, the Sherlock fandom definitely peaked in season 2 because Reichenbach Fall was so good, and that cliffhanger was so insane. And while I really love this, particularly I like all the episodes of season 3, but the second, third, I think the third is really good and kind of gets back to Sherlock. But I think the focus of season 1 and 2 was a lot more like Watson's integration into Sherlock's life, and 3 because Watson got married and had this other.
Yes, it was very much about can that relationship survive without them being together.
And
I'm not quite sure if they answered that question the way people wanted them to.
You're referring to like John Locke, or you're referring
Well,
to
kind
like.
of that. And also the fact that like they weren't friends anymore necessarily.
Yeah.
Like John. Okay, yes, Mary died, which that's a whole other rant I could go on that I don't necessarily want to.
Mary was too good to deserve death. Okay, speaking of John Locke, I kind of ship it, and I understand the group that doesn't, because I think that, but I do feel like at a certain. I don't know, I feel like when I started watching the show, I didn't expect it to become canon as much, but like, then the writers...
It was a thing. So there's this list going on, and like it has like the romantic tropes used in Sherlock for John Locke. Like it's over 200. I think it's 216. At that point, you kind of put yourself into a corner where you can't get mad at people for thinking, oh hey, maybe this is a thing.
Yeah.
And I think, and this goes to fandom and people outside the fandom, kind of creators, of people being like, oh, of course it's not a thing, how can you be so stupid about thinking that? Which is honestly probably my biggest issue with the fandom.
Yeah, well, I feel like, I feel like it's sort of, I get kind of frustrated because I feel like there's some legitimate, like, shipping, as it is in the fandom world, of, like, and not to argue that there isn't some fetishization of male and female relationships, but I do think that a lot of people were just really, like, the way they were telling the story was kind of, that it's kind of had homosocial undertones. The two of them could not live without each other, and And any time that as you were talking about, the way the show would test if Sherlock or John could be without the other one, the show seemed to clearly state that they could not. I mean, that Sherlock particularly just fell apart without John. And I thought it was that it added a sort of interesting complexity, an idea that, I kind of was like the idea that Sherlock wasn't particularly sexual, and so for him, pursuit of John, who is sexual, was sort of not going to happen in that vein. But and that's kind of the fun of the fandom sort of playing with it. But I think sort of sometimes the mocking of I think the fandom attacks people outside the fandom unfairly, but I also think people in the fandom get mocked unfairly as well.
Yes, definitely. Which, that kind of is within all fandoms, unfortunately. It's one of the worst parts, but it's incredibly present, I feel like, in Sherlock.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Doctor Who? I feel like we have a good segue for Moffat, yeah.
Yes, because Moffat's leaving Doctor Who.
Yeah, well, I have to be on. So I'm not into Doctor Who.
Okay, I am very into Doctor Who.
But since I exist in the sphere of people who are into Doctor Who, I know who everybody's favorite Doctor is, and I know the sort of tropes and most of the good companions and all the stuff. But I'm kind of always but I do think the whole Moffat war has been very interesting.
So I think he's an awesome writer. He's written some of my favorite Doctor Who episodes, Blink. Oh my god,
that episode is insane.
Oh my god. I'm less fond of him as a showrunner.
Yeah.
Kind of, because he has a very similar pattern that he falls into, in which he introduces these quirky, fun female characters that are kind of more plot device. Than character. So I'm excited to kind of get a new showrunner, get new blood. Because Moffat's been there for a while. Capaldi, this is his last season as the 12th Doctor.
So how has it been? Because I feel like I knew a lot. Everybody was super into Doctor Who post 11, and then sort of trailed off of it since Capaldi.
Well, I think part of the thing is that I personally think his stories have not been as good as 11.
Okay.
And also, Matt Smith was just such a fantastic Doctor.
Yeah.
You can't follow him up necessarily. That's always going to be an uphill battle. But I really like Capaldi. He's good. He's a very different kind of Doctor. His first season, he was very dark and brooding and grumpy, which I know was divisive. What's that word?
Divisive.
Yeah. Thank you. Among the fandom. But no, he's good. I'm excited though, because the odds-on favorite is actually that we're gonna get a female Doctor.
Ooh! No,
finally.
Well, that adds some interesting dimensions that hopefully somebody can.
Well, yeah. That could either be really cool or it could be kind of it depends how it's handled.
Would that mean there'd be a male companion and not a...
That is the question, would there be a male companion? Would they be romantic undertones there has been for past Doctors? Not so much with Capaldi, but for Matt Smith and David Tennant, there's definitely romantic things. Would it be a male companion? Would it be a female companion?
That doesn't rule out the
romantic
undertones.
Would there still be romantic undertones?
Doctor Who going in for the...
it's a very interesting question. And none of this is confirmed. We could get another guy, we could get a girl. We don't know yet. They haven't announced it. It's just, the betting pool is interesting. But anyway, back to Doctor Who.
Yeah, sorry.
It's coming back April 15th, which, I'm excited. We got same Doctor last season as the Doctor, so you got regeneration coming. We got a new companion, Billy. She seems very cool.
Oh, what happened with Clara?
So she died, but the Doctor brought her back to life, but her heart isn't beating. So she's roaming the galaxy with her own kind of TARDIS in the shape as a 50s designer with the girl. She's played by, who plays Arya Stark?
Oh,
Maisie
Williams.
With her. So they're just roaming the galaxy, and eventually Clara will die, but she's in between her last heartbeat, and so she's just this immortal, unaging woman until she decides to go back to the moment of her death.
Wow, I always liked her.
She's another person who started off plot device.
Yeah.
With who is this impossible girl who keeps reappearing, and I don't know.
Who's your favorite companion?
Tie between Amy and Rory together. Once they were a married couple together, they were awesome.
I always thought that was a good idea.
Yes, that was very cool. Having married a couple in the first, and Donna.
No Rose, because I know Rose is a fan favorite of a lot of people.
I don't like Rose.
Okay.
I actually don't like Rose.
Because you don't what do you not like about her?
I just, I'm not necessarily a fan of Billie Piper.
Okay.
Just her acting. She's a good character, and she's I was fine with the romance arc or pseudo romance arc, It's just she's not my favorite.
Miraculous Ladybug is about superheroes. So that's kind of fun. The basic premise is that the main characters are Marionette and Adrian, the Frenchiest French kids that ever Frenched. Her name is Marionette Dupin Chang, and he is Adrian Agreste. And so they are both superheroes who get transformed into magical superheroes, and they save Paris against these villains. Oh, I'll get to that point actually later. So when they're both superheroes, Adrian, they don't know what their secret identity. Neither of them knows their secret identities. They just know they're supposed to work together. Yeah, that's always fun. And so he's Chat Noir or Cat Noir, and she's Ladybug. And as their superhero identities, he's in love with Ladybug. So as Cat Noir, he's in love with Ladybug, which is cool because that's when she's like her most confident, and she's like could not give him the time of day.
Nice.
But they both go to school together, and he's the son of this famous fashion designer, and he's a model. And he's actually really sweet and cute, and she has like a major crush on him, cannot speak around him, and he is just like, oh, she's really nice, she's in my class. And I'm like, so it's called the Miraculous Square. It's called the Miraculous Love Square in the fandom. And people have like, it's really weird how people fight about what the best part of the square is, because I'm like, they're the same people.
But like they're different personalities, and like
Yeah.
different personalities have different dynamics, and people like different dynamics.
I get that, yeah, I get that. I'm always just like, whatever, when they're together, they're together. I mean, so they all have different names. So like Marionette and Cat Noir is Mary Cat or Mary Chat, and then and you know like.
Oh, so they like
Lady
all
Lady
four.
Noir,
Okay.
and they all have 4 ship names for one show.
For 2 characters.
Come on in, it's hell. No, it's. I mean, I do think there's like, so the first season, it's pretty episodic. There's no like major overarching plot really. Marionette and Adrian both have kwamis who give them their powers. They're like little. It's very Asian inspired. And that's kind of fun. But we don't really get a lot about the lore of their powers or anything. We just kind of know a little bit. But every and it's kind of episode of the week, they fight a villain who is created by the evil Hawkmoth, who also they get their powers from. She has earrings and he has a ring, and they're miraculouses.
Right.
And as you do. And so Hawkmoth is this villain who wants their miraculouses. And so his power, and he has a miraculous that he stole, and that's all we know so far. And he makes people who are angry in the city of Paris, he gives them the ability to have superpowers. And so every week they kind of have to fight a different person. And they're all sort of in their class, which is a little too convenient, but hey. Paris is, I swear Paris and this has only like 20 people in it, but it's okay. So, I mean, and it's just really fun and bright and colorful, and it's 3D, but it's actually the first 3D animated children's show that I really like, and it was supposed to look really cinematic, and it's really cool. And it's now been picked up for 2 seasons. It's on Netflix, so that's gonna be fun. And the cool thing is that the creator's like, okay, now that we've tested the waters, we can actually make this more complicated, so it's gonna start expanding on they're gonna start expanding and making it have more, you know, a more central plot line, which I think will be really interesting, and I'm really interested. Now the fun of all this is that there's a huge debate in the fandom right now. I don't know why. It is a children's show. Is that Hawkmoth so we got an origins episode, and that's like the closest we've got to kind of the lore of there's a guy and he's probably gonna be the like teach him what to do. And they still don't know who each other is, and I doubt they'll find out anytime soon. But Hawkmoth, poor Adrian. Hawkmoth is clearly Adrian's dad, the famous fashion designer, Gabriel Agreste, who is, you know, bewitching people to steal jewelry from his son every week.
Okay, so what's the debate?
Like, the debate is if Gabriel Agreste is Hawkmoth. They're literally voiced by the same person. They have the same outline in face and shape.
I mean, are there any other, like, major male characters?
No,
I mean,
not with that body shape.
For a show that's, like, very set for like superhero identities and then like real identities and how they interact or don't. Obviously, they're gonna do the same exact thing with the villain.
No, yeah, totally. And so like, there's no other though male character that is is the right body shape.
Shall we tackle Supernatural?
Can one ever tackle the Supernatural fandom?
Full disclosure, this is what made us friends.
Yeah, it really is. It's the trifecta of the. We've actually done it all. We've done Super Hulock.
We have
the
done
three.
Super Hulock.
Oh my god.
Supernatural. We're in season
12?
We're
got
renewed
renewed
for
for
season 13. Oh my god, what the hell?
And I just want to see how it will end. Like,
It was supposed to end season 5.
well, you know, that was kind of the problem with Supernatural, is that I like this in this recent season that they kept trying to like, the first 5 seasons are actually really cool in
Oh
the
my
way
God.
that they escalate.
Yeah,
But
season
then-
5 leads perfectly one to another in one complete story. Like, you
Yeah.
can watch seasons 1 through 5, it is one complete story with callbacks to, like, season 1, and, like, it all makes sense.
Well, that's my problem, is the show like forgot the rules. Like post season 6, it was like, meh, whatever.
Yeah. So they had the story in season 5, they wrapped the story, and then they got renewed for season 6, and they're like, well, what do we do now?
How does one escalate beyond the apocalypse?
Yes, how you defeat the devil, where do you go after that?
The answer is you cannot. They've tried many.
Numerous, many things.
They're all still beautiful. That's one thing they've got going.
I mean, it has never been a bad show.
No, and somebody, I read something that said that Supernatural doesn't get enough credit because actually the main cast of Supernatural is 2 people.
Yeah,
And that's really unique.
It's Sam and Dean, and it's been them since season 1. And like, you can say like, oh yeah, Cass who joined season 4, he's kind of the main character. His kid Bobby was the main character. Crowley.
Yeah, I'm always so sad about Bobby. That's another thing about Supernatural though. The stakes never feel okay because I binge watched it.
You are not a Supernatural character until you have died at least once and come back.
I binge watched it, and Castiel dies a lot, and he's my favorite. And I was telling my friends, like, what did you do this summer? And I'm like, oh, you know, I watched a show where my favorite character died 6 times. And then I realized that wasn't an exaggeration. He had literally died 6 times.
Sam and Dean have each died at least a dozen times apiece.
Which is now why, like, I don't see the
Yeah, so I mean, like, if someone dies, you're like, okay, so when are they coming back?
Well, and
then when they don't come back, you're like, why not?
Well, what's annoying is that female characters never seem to come back. They stay dead.
Supernatural is it's my one issue with Supernatural, if I have one issue, is that their track record with female characters, it's not, no.
Which is really interesting because the fandom
It's
is predominantly female.
Yes.
I feel like shipping is gonna come up eventually.
It has come up for all other sections. We might as well address it as well.
I can't remember exactly what was your ship. Are you?
I mean, Destiel. Dean and Castiel, for those who do not know. Beyond Sam and Dean, who are brothers, and like their relationship obviously is like the correlation.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond that, the relationship, however you interpret it, between Dean and Cass is one of the, if not the second most important relationships on the show.
Yeah, I totally agree. I actually kind of am at the point with this show where I'm like, why not make it canon? Your show is cultish and has been around for 13 seasons. Like,
yeah, I mean, if there ever was a show that could go that way with the gay ship, Supernatural is very well poised for it.
I mean, well, particularly in the most recent season, is that like it's like they switched writers partway through, and so okay.
And showrunners.
And the first, and I think maybe part of it is I live in my bubble, so I'm like, oh, they're so into each other, it's not even funny. But I mean, Castiel in the first season he's in gives up everything to go help
Fall for
Dean.
Yeah,
and
he
then
literally falls from grace.
yeah, multiple times. And then he saves Dean's life a few times, and like
And Sam.
and Sam, but like it's usually like. What does he say? Dean and I have a more
profound
connection. Like you're like Cass is looking at Dean when there's a lot of staring. And it's just and what's funny is like the biggest Destiel shipper I feel like is Misha Collins is like.
Oh yeah.
Misha Collins is like, let's do this. But yeah, in their most recent season, it's gotten it kind of went up and then it went down again, and they kind of walked it back, and which is always kind of frustrating. Like,
yes.
Either own the fact that you don't even have to make your characters like homosexual. They can they could just be on
I mean,
the
Cass is
spectrum.
an angel. Does he technically have a gender?
No, I think that's kind of a point the show has made a couple times is that
yeah.
he has
He
a
was in a
vessel.
female vessel.
Yeah, so there's a sort of asexuality. I mean, whatever.
Yes.
Like Dean doesn't have to stop liking women if he likes Cass. It's not. It doesn't.
I don't know. it's very interesting though, watching that
Yeah.
progression. And I mean, I've always been of the opinion if they do go there, it won't happen until last season.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So like, as long as we keep getting renewed.
I gotta wait in agony forever.
Alright everyone, thank you for watching this episode of TV Talk and listening to us gush for a very long time. Make sure you subscribe to all our social media, you know the drill. Thanks for watching. Bye.